Welcome back to our channel. Today, we unravel one of Hollywood's most captivating tales, a story of glamour, mystery, and danger. Known as the Queen of Hollywood, Myrna Loy graced the silver screen with her wit, charm, and iconic performances. But behind her dazzling career lies a secret that connects her to one of America's most infamous gangsters, John Dillinger. From her rise to stardom, to the fateful events that intertwine her life with Dillinger's dark legacy. This is a story you won't want to miss. Join us as we dive deep into the untold chapters of Myrna Loy's life, her career, and the secret love affair that shocked the world. Childhood Myrna Loy, born as Myrna Adele Williams on August 2, 1905 in Helena, Montana, had a childhood that was both privileged and deeply formative, shaped by her family's unique blend of ambition, artistry, and progressive values. Her father, David, was not only a successful rancher and banker, but also an influential politician, known for his forward-thinking ideals. These values permeated their household, fostering a culture of inclusivity that was rare for the time. An example of this was their unwavering support for an African-American family that moved into their predominantly white community, a gesture of acceptance that stood as a testament to their belief in equality and human dignity. Her mother, Adele May, brought another layer of richness to Myrna's early life. A gifted musician who had studied at the prestigious American Conservatory of Music in Chicago, Adele undoubtedly nurtured Myrna's appreciation for the arts. This artistic environment, coupled with the prosperity of their ranch, provided Myrna with a foundation of cultural exposure and creative encouragement that would later influence her career in Hollywood. But Myrna's idyllic childhood was not without hardship. In 1912, her world was shaken when her mother fell gravely ill with pneumonia. This led to the family relocating temporarily to Los Angeles, seeking the city's milder climate to aid Adele's recovery. This move marked the beginning of a connection between the Williams family and California, a place that would become a pivotal backdrop to Myrna's life and career. Tragedy struck again just a few years later, when the Spanish influenza epidemic of 1918 swept through Helena, leaving devastation in its wake. Both Myrna's mother and younger brother contracted the deadly illness, and it fell upon Myrna and her father to nurse them back to health. But this story takes a heartbreaking turn. David himself succumbed to the virus after tirelessly caring for his family. At only 13 years old, Myrna lost her father, a guiding figure whose progressive values and determination had shaped her early worldview. The loss was profound, but it also became a defining moment for young Myrna. Before his death, David had implored her to take care of her family, and she took this promise to heart. Displaying a maturity far beyond her years, Myrna embraced the role of protector and supporter for her mother and brother. This sense of responsibility, forged in the crucible of personal tragedy, would remain a cornerstone of her character throughout her life. Following her father's passing, Adele chose to relocate the family permanently to California, drawn once again by its warm climate and opportunities for renewal. They settled in Culver City, a location that would later place Myrna at the very heart of Hollywood's burgeoning film industry. Though the move marked the end of their life in Montana, it also opened the door to new possibilities for Myrna, a young girl with resilience, artistic talent, and a determination to honor her father's memory. Family. At just 13 years old, Myrna faced a life-altering tragedy, the loss of her father. It was a moment that could have broken many, but for Myrna, it became a turning point. She stepped up in ways far beyond her years, taking on a mature role to support her grieving family. Her mother, a pillar of strength, worked tirelessly to keep the family afloat. Despite her own struggles, she never let go of a dream for Myrna, to nurture the spark of creativity and talent that her daughter clearly possessed. The family eventually found a home in Culver City, a place that would shape Myrna's destiny. Here, she discovered a world where her passions for dance and art could flourish. It wasn't long before her talents caught the attention of others. Imagine this, a young Myrna brimming with promise, standing as the model for the iconic Fountain of Education sculpture. This wasn't just an artistic accolade, it was a symbol of her resilience and potential. But none of this would have been possible without her mother's unwavering dedication. Determined to give Myrna every opportunity to succeed, she made countless sacrifices, ensuring her daughter could train at prestigious institutions. These institutions didn't just teach Myrna technical skills, they laid the foundation for what would become an extraordinary artistic career. Career beginnings. Myrna Loy's journey into the world of Hollywood began in the most unassuming way, through dance and small, often overlooked roles in silent films. Yet even in these modest beginnings, it was clear that she possessed a unique blend of talent and charisma. Her movements were graceful, her expressions captivating, and her presence unforgettable. Dance, which had initially been a passion, became her gateway to the film industry, where she quickly learned how to communicate emotions without words, a skill that would prove invaluable in the silent film era. Her big break came in 1925, thanks to none other than the legendary Rudolph Valentino. The heartthrob of silent cinema, Valentino was a star whose name alone could guarantee box office success. When he cast Myrna in What Price Beauty, it was more than just an opportunity. It was a stamp of approval from Hollywood royalty. This moment thrust Myrna into the spotlight, and while the film itself didn't become a major hit, it marked her as a rising star to watch. Media outlets of the time took note of her striking beauty and screen presence, often highlighting her captivating cat-like eyes that seemed to hold secrets no one could unravel. During this time, Myrna found herself typecast in vamp roles, enigmatic, seductive women who wielded power through their allure. Audiences were entranced by her performances, and fan mail poured in, praising her exotic charm and magnetic gaze. Film magazines of the era began dubbing her Hollywood Siren, cementing her image as a mysterious, otherworldly beauty. While this brought her fame, it also placed her in a creative box. Myrna herself expressed frustration with being limited to such roles, stating in interviews that she felt Hollywood wasn't tapping into her full potential. As the industry transitioned to the sound era, Myrna saw an opportunity to break free from the vamp label. Sound films demanded more than just visual appeal. They required personality, wit, and the ability to deliver dialogue with finesse. Myrna recognized this shift as her chance to redefine herself, and she embraced it wholeheartedly. She dyed her hair back to its natural red, a move that symbolized her shedding the artificial image of the vamp and stepping into roles that better reflected her own wholesome and intelligent persona. Her fans, who had admired her for her beauty, were now seeing another side of her. Letters began flooding in, praising her versatility and relatable charm. Critics also took notice, with one notable columnist writing, "The Hollywood icon is no longer just a face, she's a force. She brings wit, warmth, and a certain sparkle to the screen that makes her unforgettable." The press celebrated her reinvention, often dubbing her Hollywood's natural beauty, contrasting her with the glamorous yet untouchable starlets of the time. Myrna's transition wasn't just a personal victory, it was a cultural shift. At a time when Hollywood often sought to mold actresses into specific archetypes, her ability to successfully redefine herself resonated with audiences, and inspired other women in the industry to challenge the status quo. Fans continued to flock to theaters to see her on screen, and newspapers frequently highlighted her as a role model for women looking to balance authenticity with ambition. Rise to stardom. Myrna's career-defining moment came in the early 1930s, during what many call the golden age of Hollywood. It all started when Irving Thalberg, MGM's famed boy wonder producer, saw untapped potential in her. Thalberg had an eye for stars, and with Myrna, he saw not just talent, but a timeless elegance and charm that could captivate audiences for decades. Her true breakout came with the Thin Man series, where she portrayed the witty and stylish Nora Charles alongside William Powell. Audiences instantly fell in love with the couple's playful banter, effortless chemistry, and knack for solving mysteries with a cocktail in hand. Fans flocked to theaters, eager to see more of this dynamic duo. It wasn't just a movie, it was a pop culture sensation. Critics raved, calling her performance a masterclass in subtlety and wit. Even decades later, the Thin Man series is considered a landmark in cinematic history, thanks in no small part to Myrna's brilliance. But it wasn't just the movies that had people talking. Fan clubs dedicated to Myrna sprang up across the country. Letters poured in from admirers, praising her beauty, grace, and relatability. Magazine covers featured her radiant smile, cementing her status as the face of Hollywood glamour. She became a role model for women embodying both sophistication and a down-to-earth charm that made her seem approachable despite her stardom. What makes Myrna's story even more inspiring is her transformation within Hollywood. Early in her career, she was often typecast in exotic vamp roles, beautiful but one-dimensional characters, but she refused to be confined to a box. With The Thin Man and other projects, Myrna transitioned into roles that showcased her depth as an actress, earning her the title of Hollywood's perfect wife. It was a shift that resonated deeply with audiences, who saw in her a blend of warmth, intelligence, and humor that felt modern even for its time. And let's not forget her remarkable collaborations with some of Hollywood's most iconic leading men. Her partnership with William Powell became legendary, with their on-screen chemistry so convincing that fans often assumed they were a real-life couple. Meanwhile, her work with Clark Gable in films like Manhattan Melodrama showcased her versatility, proving she could hold her own against any star. The media couldn't get enough, with headlines like Myrna Loy, the Queen of Hollywood's Golden Age, dominating newspapers and magazines. One of the most fascinating aspects of Myrna's rise to fame was how it transcended the silver screen. Her influence extended into fashion, where fans eagerly mimicked her hairstyles and wardrobe. Social events where Myrna appeared were covered in detail, with the press and fans alike marveling at her effortless grace. In many ways, Myrna didn't just star in movies. She became an icon of an entire era, scandals and controversies. Myrna Loy's career wasn't just a journey of glamour and success. It was a testament to her unwavering principles and bravery in the face of challenges. Early in her career, she often found herself cast in roles that leaned heavily on stereotypes, particularly as exotic or oriental characters. While these roles boosted her visibility, they also reflected a troubling trend in Hollywood: the industry's reliance on racially insensitive depictions that flatten complex cultures into mere tropes. Myrna's striking features, especially her almond-shaped eyes, made her a favorite for such parts. But she quickly grew uncomfortable with how these roles perpetuated harmful stereotypes. Even in an era where speaking out against studio decisions was considered career suicide, Myrna didn't shy away from voicing her concerns. Her refusal to perform in a particularly degrading scene in The Mask of Fu Manchu was a watershed moment. She famously clashed with the producer, calling out the absurdity and offensiveness of her character's actions, and demanded changes. News of her defiance spread, earning her both respect and criticism. Fans who admired her beauty and talent now began to see her as a woman of substance, someone willing to risk her career to uphold her values. Media outlets at the time described her as fearlessly outspoken, a reputation that set her apart in an industry where compliance was often the norm. As Myrna transitioned into the height of her career, her boldness extended beyond the screen. The political climate of the 1940s and 1950s was rife with fear and paranoia, and the rise of McCarthyism cast a shadow over Hollywood. The House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, targeted countless artists, accusing them of communist sympathies and leading to blacklists that effectively ended many careers. While some chose to stay silent or comply, Myrna stood her ground. She publicly denounced HUAC's tactics, calling them un-American and a violation of fundamental freedoms. This bold stance made her a polarizing figure. For her fans, however, it only deepened their admiration. Letters poured in from supporters who praised her courage and integrity. One fan wrote to a popular Hollywood magazine, "Myrna Loy isn't just a star, she's a role model." While others hid in fear, she spoke out for justice. Her actions also inspired budding actors and actresses who saw her as a beacon of hope during an era when silence was often the safer choice. The press, ever eager for a story, covered her activism extensively. Headlines described her as Hollywood's voice of reason and the actress who wouldn't stay silent. These stories fueled debates among her audience. Some saw her as a heroine of free speech, while others criticized her for stepping into political waters. Yet regardless of public opinion, Myrna remained steadfast in her beliefs. Inevitably, her outspokenness led to professional consequences. She was temporarily blacklisted, a tactic designed to isolate and silence dissenting voices. But Myrna's resilience shone through. Determined not to let fear dictate her career, she fought back, leveraging her relationships and talent to rebuild her reputation. This comeback only cemented her legacy further. Newspapers ran stories applauding her return, with one publication boldly stating, "Myrna Loy proves that integrity can outlast fear." The fallout from her activism also highlighted an interesting dynamic. Fans who had once adored her for her roles as Hollywood's perfect wife now saw her as a symbol of courage and moral conviction. This duality made her even more relatable. She wasn't just a glamorous star on the silver screen. She was a real person, unafraid to stand for her values, even when the stakes were high. Her story resonated far beyond Hollywood. Universities invited her to speak about her experiences, students quoted her in essays, and political figures acknowledged her bravery during a turbulent time. For many, she represented the best of what a star could be, not just an entertainer, but a leader and a symbol of integrity. Personal life and relationships. Myrna Loy's personal life was a tapestry of triumphs and challenges, a side of her story that often intrigues fans as much as her iconic career. While she dazzled audiences on screen, her private life revealed a woman navigating the complexities of love and identity amidst the pressures of Hollywood. Over her lifetime, Myrna married 4 times, yet none of these unions stood the test of time. Among her relationships, the most tumultuous was with John Hertz Jr., an heir to the Hertz fortune. At first, their marriage appeared to be the ultimate Hollywood fairy tale, a glamorous couple both successful in their own right. But behind closed doors, the reality was far darker. Myrna endured domestic abuse during their time together, a heartbreaking revelation that underscored her inner strength. In an era when speaking out about such issues was almost unthinkable, Myrna's eventual decision to leave the marriage was a courageous act. Fans later praised her bravery, with one admirer commenting in a magazine article, "She showed us that even the strongest women can face hardship and still rise above it." Her later marriages marked a shift in Myrna's outlook on life. As her career evolved, so did her priorities. These relationships weren't about Hollywood glamour, but rather a search for deeper connection and personal fulfillment. Though these unions also ended, they reflected her desire to step outside the constraints of fame and explore life on her own terms. Media outlets at the time often speculated on her love life, with headlines like "Hollywood's Perfect Wife Finds Her Own Voice," capturing public fascination. Despite the ups and downs in her personal relationships, Myrna never let these challenges overshadow her broader legacy. One of the most remarkable aspects of her life was her ability to channel personal struggles into a greater purpose. Her friendships with influential figures, including Eleanor Roosevelt, offered a glimpse into her commitment to making a difference. Myrna wasn't just a Hollywood star. She was a humanitarian, a woman who used her platform to advocate for causes close to her heart. Her partnership with Roosevelt sparked widespread admiration. Fans who saw her as the perfect actress now viewed her as a role model off-screen. Letters poured in, commending her involvement in civil rights advocacy, support for the United Nations, and her outspoken stance on women's rights. One fan's letter published in a local paper read, "She isn't just a star, she's a beacon of hope for those who believe in using fame for good." The media, too, took note of her transformation. Publications like the New York Times hailed her as more than an actress, describing her as a voice of compassion in an era of change. Meanwhile, fan magazines chronicled her journey with headlines like "From Hollywood Royalty to Humanitarian Hero," cementing her image as a multifaceted icon. Later career in activism. In her later years, Myrna Loy gracefully evolved from Hollywood's quintessential leading lady into a respected character actress, proving that her talents went far beyond beauty and charm. This transition wasn't just about aging. It was a reflection of her ability to adapt and embrace roles that resonated with a maturing audience. Myrna began choosing parts that showcased her depth and wisdom, portraying characters that embodied strength, intelligence, and life experience. Critics praised her evolution, with one review noting, "Myrna Loy has aged like fine wine, richer, more complex, and infinitely satisfying." Her commitment to redefining her career also paralleled her extraordinary efforts off-screen. During World War II, while many stars contributed to the war effort through appearances and publicity, Myrna went above and beyond. She stepped away from the spotlight, dedicating herself fully to supporting the troops. She tirelessly worked with the Red Cross, organized war bond drives, and visited hospitals, often spending hours talking to wounded soldiers. Unlike many celebrities of the time, Myrna didn't just lend her name, she lent her heart. Soldiers frequently wrote home about meeting her, calling her a real angel of Hollywood, and her appearances were covered extensively in wartime publications, further solidifying her reputation as a true patriot. Fans adored her, not just for her wartime contributions, but for the authenticity she brought to them. Letters flooded studios and newspapers, praising her dedication. One heartfelt letter from a soldier read, "Myrna Loy isn't just a movie star. She's proof that someone up there in Hollywood actually cares about us." News outlets picked up these stories, showcasing Myrna as a shining example of Hollywood's better angels during a time of global hardship. After the war, Myrna's dedication to making the world a better place didn't wane. Instead, it expanded. She became a delegate to UNESCO, an organization devoted to promoting global peace, education, and cultural understanding. This role highlighted her shift from a Hollywood starlet to a global humanitarian. At a time when the world was still recovering from the horrors of war, Myrna used her influence to champion initiatives that brought hope and progress to communities in need. Her work with UNESCO captured the public's imagination. Fans, who had admired her on the screen, now followed her humanitarian efforts with just as much fervor. Newspapers frequently reported on her involvement in conferences and global initiatives, calling her Hollywood's humanitarian star. Interviews with Myrna during this time revealed her passion for the cause. "Peace isn't just an ideal," she once said. "It's something we have to fight for every single day." Her eloquence and determination won her a new legion of admirers who saw her as more than an actress. She was a symbol of hope and progress. Even as she worked tirelessly for UNESCO, Myrna's film career continued. Her later roles in movies like Cheaper by the Dozen and its sequel, Bells on Their Toes, reflected her ability to bring warmth and relatability to her characters. Audiences loved her portrayal of strong maternal figures, and critics noted how her real-life maturity and compassion added layers to her performances. One fan remarked in a fan magazine, "Watching Myrna Loy on screen feels like coming home. She's the mother, the mentor, and the friend we all wish we had." Myrna's dual image as a Hollywood icon and a humanitarian made her a favorite of both the press and the public. When she spoke, people listened. Her efforts were celebrated not just in film circles, but also in political and social arenas. She became a regular fixture in the media, not for scandals or gossip, but for her tireless advocacy for global peace and education. News articles frequently described her as a star who shines brightest off screen, and her appearances at public events often drew large crowds, eager to catch a glimpse of the woman whose life had become a symbol of grace and purpose. Her later career in humanitarian work reinforced her legacy as a woman of substance, one who used her fame to uplift others. Fans wrote to her, not just to praise her films, but to thank her for inspiring them to get involved in their own communities. One young admirer, in a letter published in a fan magazine, wrote, "Myrna Loy taught me that being a star isn't about being admired. It's about making a difference." By the time Myrna reflected on her life in her memoir, Being and Becoming, her transformation from Hollywood's perfect wife to a global advocate for peace was complete. The book became a bestseller, praised for its candidness and insight. Readers marveled at her journey, and media outlets celebrated her as one of the rare stars who had managed to bridge the gap between the glamour of Hollywood and the grit of real-world activism. Shaq, Death and Legacy. On December 14, 1993, the world bid farewell to a true Hollywood legend, Myrna Loy, who passed away at the age of 88. Her life was like a movie, spanning over 120 films and decades of Hollywood history. From the sultry vamp roles of her early career to becoming Hollywood's perfect wife, Myrna's evolution was nothing short of extraordinary. Yet her story goes far beyond the silver screen. It's a tale of resilience, reinvention, and a commitment to using her fame for a greater purpose. Myrna's rise to stardom began in the silent film era, where her exotic looks initially typecast her into the mysterious vamp roles. At the time, these characters were often little more than caricatures, beautiful and dangerous, but lacking depth. Myrna, however, was determined to break free from this mold. She wanted more than surface-level fame. She wanted to bring authenticity and complexity to her characters. Her perseverance paid off when she landed the iconic role of Nora Charles in the Thin Man series. In The Thin Man, Myrna's portrayal of Nora Charles redefined what it meant to be a leading lady. She wasn't just a sidekick to William Powell's Nick Charles. She was his equal. With her sharp wit, effortless charm, and impeccable comedic timing, Myrna created a character that audiences couldn't get enough of. Fans flocked to theaters, sparking a phenomenon that solidified her as one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. Myrna Loy made us believe in love, humor, and sophistication, all in one glance, wrote a critic in a glowing review. But it wasn't just her on-screen roles that endeared her to the public. Myrna Loy was a trailblazer in every sense of the word. At a time when Hollywood stars were expected to remain apolitical, Myrna boldly used her platform to advocate for causes she believed in. She was an outspoken supporter of civil rights, even challenging Hollywood's discriminatory casting practices. Her courage in taking a stand didn't go unnoticed. Fans admired her, not just for her beauty or talent, but for her unwavering integrity. She wasn't afraid to speak the truth, no matter the cost, one admirer wrote, in a letter to the editor of a fan magazine. Her activism extended far beyond Hollywood. During World War II, Myrna became a tireless advocate for American troops, working with the Hollywood Canteen to support soldiers overseas. She even earned the affectionate title of the Queen of the Hollywood Canteen, a reflection of her deep commitment to boosting morale during one of history's darkest times. After the war, she continued her humanitarian efforts, focusing on women's rights and global peace initiatives. Myrna's work with the United Nations became a cornerstone of her later life. She wasn't just lending her name to these causes. She was deeply involved, attending conferences, giving speeches, and meeting with world leaders. Her friendship with Eleanor Roosevelt, one of the most influential women of the 20th century, further highlighted her dedication to making a difference. The media often praised Myrna's activism, with headlines like, "From Hollywood starlet to humanitarian icon." When news of her passing broke in 1993, tributes poured in from every corner of the world. Fans shared stories of how her performances had touched their lives, while younger generations discovered her films for the first time. She was elegance personified, one fan wrote on a movie forum, while another said, Myrna Loy didn't just act, she lived with purpose. Major publications reflected on her dual legacy as both a movie star and a humanitarian. The New York Times described her as a trailblazer whose impact on Hollywood and society will never be forgotten. Meanwhile, retrospectives on television and radio celebrated her roles in films like The Thin Man and Manhattan Melodrama, as well as her tireless advocacy for social justice. And that wraps up this fascinating journey into the life of Myrna Loy, a Hollywood legend whose story is as riveting as any movie she starred in. From her early days as a vamp to becoming the epitome of the perfect wife on screen, and from her political activism to her mysterious connection with John Dillinger, Myrna Loy's life was truly extraordinary. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's hidden history, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible stories. Let us know in the comments which Hollywood mystery you'd like us to uncover next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode of Hollywood Mysteries.